Hi, everyone. Welcome. It is the ICBA morning news for September 21st, 2023. Happy Thursday. I'm Jordan Bateman, VP Communications for ICBA. I'm going to give you some messaging here on some heads up on mixed government messaging on housing and energy. As always, links to sources at www.icbaindependent.ca. Of course, we can't post them here on Facebook because of the federal government's foolish Online News Act. Listen, the word division. Someone once told me that the word division is actually spot on. Division, two visions, often working at cross purposes. And nowhere do you see that more acutely division than within government when it comes to housing. So government is a place where all too often the right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, and in fact often works at cross purposes. So at a time when housing is more expensive than it's ever been, and the federal government has said clearly that affordability is a top priority, we see another piece of the bureaucracy come forward with regulations that will actually drive costs up even more. So writing for the Financial Post today, the Fraser Institute's Ross McKitrick says, new federal energy efficiency rules will drive up housing costs by $55,000 per unit, a government-authored price hike of 8%. It will also slow construction, harm the national GDP, and cause tradespeople to leave the industry. These are all bad things in a housing crisis. Look, a lesson from COVID was this. Governments can move fast and effectively when everyone is aligned with a singular goal. Housing affordability needs to be addressed with the same singularity of purpose across all ministries and all levels of government. Everyone needs to be on the same page. So when you have one side of the bureaucracy saying we need to create more housing, make it cheaper for folks to get into, and you have another side of the bureaucracy saying we need an 8% price hike in order to meet these certain energy efficiency rules, those are clashing visions. Division costing us all money. Speaking of division within government, the eyes of the energy industry were on Calgary this week for the World Petroleum Conference. This is the world's largest energy sector conference. And the messaging of the Trudeau federal government and the Danielle Smith Alberta government could not have been more different. Again, division. Federal Environment Minister Jonathan Wilkinson painted oil and gas as a sunset industry, promising to eliminate fossil fuels by 2050. It takes some guts to say in a room full of people who make their living on fossil fuels. But Premier Smith, after saying Wilkinson's comments were, quote, tone deaf and went over like, quote, a lead balloon, had a much stronger message. Quote, this is not an industry that's winding down. It's an industry that's transitioning away from emissions. We know that we have to deal with emissions on an urgent basis, but we also have to make sure that we're dealing with reliability and affordability and energy security, unquote. Saskatchewan and Newfoundland had their energy leaders there as well. And this is from a quote from the Saskatchewan Energy Minister, quote, the world needs more clean Canadian oil and gas. For the sake of Canadian prosperity, let's hope the provincial views win out on this one. And finally, BC mayors and councillors are gathered at the Union of British Columbia Municipalities Conference this week in Vancouver. Lots of provincial folks running through there as well, making speeches and meeting with these folks from across BC. And the topic is pretty simple. Housing, 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 getting more money from the BC government for infrastructure to serve housing, getting more money from the BC government for transit to serve housing, and housing. As Cowichan Valley Regional District Director Ben Martin said, you know, I'm a simple farmer. I just can't keep adding to my herd without being able to look after them, resource them, care for them, and house them. That is a good lesson for all of us to learn when it comes to housing within municipalities. Schools, transit, roads, sewer, water, electricity, it's all needed to serve these new residents. And the province has been quick to demand housing approvals, but slow to hand out cash to help. So no solutions yet, but you can bet that the cities and their mayors are not going to go away quietly on this one. But again, another example of how various levels of government are not working or pulling together to meet the goal of affordability. We need less division and more unity in addressing these very important issues. Well, that's all I have for today. I'll be back tomorrow with another news update. If you have a link that I should include, send it to me, jordan@icba.ca. And otherwise, I'll see you all tomorrow.